really kind of the result that I got from our guys was it wasn't that they were surprised or not surprised. It was almost like it's about time something like that happened where somebody was held accountable. So really there was this feeling in general of they kind of felt like, you know, the verdict was what was supposed to happen. So maybe that does mean they were surprised because they said, well, for the first time, it feels like somebody was really held accountable.
So for us at, I'll jump in. For us at Cathedral, I'm the advisor for the Black Student Union, and we have a meeting on Friday. And I saw my co-advisors or the co-presidents today, and we just kind of discussed what the meeting was going to be about on Friday. But for me personally, before I go educate them, I think I have to just digest what's going on, and even in the totality about what's going on, because this isn't the sentencing, right? It's a process and it's procedural. So, you know, for us, at least in my section of school where I oversee things, haven't really had that conversation. Plan to tomorrow though, for sure, just because I want to be able to digest, take my emotion out of it, be in the advisor role for them to give them best education about the process of the courts and how to have these conversations with the students on campus and potential conversations at their Friday meeting. So that's where we are. But I think that talking to some students, it was definitely a relief for them, I'd say.
Charge for, and that can be the new precedent and moving forward. But it's a small step because then the same day we have the Micaiah Bryant murder as well in the 16-year-old girl. So it's kind of put a cloud over that verdict as well.
As does the Devontae thing from a week ago. It's
yeah.
I'm beyond comprehension.
Yeah, for me, I think that I was relieved too. And I think it was one of those things where I don't want to cheer on for when I don't want to feel the need to have to cheer on when something that's supposed to happen happens. But it's a relief that the justice system actually worked the way it's meant to. So for me, that was a relief. And I don't like the fact that there needs to be a sigh of relief, that people could actually be worried about that. And that being my initial feeling, that was serious. I'm like, oh man, all right, good. Glad that happened. Glad that justice was served. Obviously it doesn't change what happened prior, but yeah, that was just the first thing. I haven't really had a chance to really let it sink in much deeper than that. But for that to be a thought at all, it's a little scary, but at the same time, it's still a small step. And obviously it's not going to be the only step, hopefully.
And so, I mean, he got accountability. There ain't no justice there. We got a long way to go for some justice. And we got to fight. And as I told my daughter today, you have to enter into the story, because it's going to be you young people that do this, because that's what got us here. You know, just going back over everything that happened. If it wasn't for the little 17-year-old girl walking to the store with her video camera, we wouldn't be here. So, but at the same time, as a mom, as a parent, you want your kids to get involved, but you fear for their lives. You know, you fear for their lives going out the house every day, but you want them to be free. So it's heavy, man. I'm just tired. I'm just tired. I feel like Florida Evans tired. Mm. We ain't gonna talk about Cathedral. Good Lord. Okay.
If anyone else here felt like if you were at work, you're at a school site and you didn't feel like anyone would understand how you were feeling. If you were feeling, you know, I had knots in my stomach, I felt like I couldn't breathe, I just felt sick. so I had to leave. I don't know if anyone else felt that way, but I let the people know. And White just said, I'm worried about my kids. The verdict just came out, and I don't feel. They're like, oh well.
No, I'm gone. Bye, peace.
Tell them what happened. I'm just like, you just don't get it. You can't throw my Black daughter at a school where it's just a few of them. I don't care what, no.
Yeah.
I'm going to UCLA, Kobe Banks. He said, Coach Jeff, why is it that out of the clear blue, he said, why don't the Black police officers shoot white people like the white officers shoot Black people? Like, aren't they trained the same? Aren't they in the same academy? Don't they go through the same manual? And this is a kid who's going to UCLA and asking these type of questions. Like, he had no emotion on his face about the verdict. He just out of the clear blue and was leaving like, isn't that's crazy? And then Coach Jeff, like, Black officers or Hispanic officers, you don't hear about them shooting white kids. Or why is that a person of our color is danger when I've seen a video of a white man shooting or pulling a gun out and driving off, and the police just get in their car and chase him. You know what I'm saying? So, his mindset was like, yeah, he really wasn't too enthusiastic about it. Like, he was asking about other things. Like, wouldn't that be, does anybody bring that up? Because there are different, races of officers in the police force. So why is it one group can kill another race, but you don't really hear about a Black officer or Hispanic officer killing a white person at all that much? So I asked him, you going to UCLA, take it up, figure it out. You don't want to make the change.
Thank you.
Does anybody mind ask me how they felt about the verdict as adults?
I can tell you, I felt just like I think my kids felt, you know what I mean? Where, glad that finally there was something, but it's like there was a lady on CNN, and I don't know names of, you know what I mean, actors or news people or whatever, but she had the best, one of the best things is that, if George Floyd would have been walked away in handcuffs with the same respect that Chauvin was after he was, you know what I mean, found guilty, we wouldn't have even been in this situation. And what does it take to get to that point? You know what I mean? Where the same type of feeling. And I just thought it hit home perfectly. You know what I mean? That reflection of it. And what is it going to take to get to that point?
Yeah, I agree with that. That's pretty, I actually called some other coaches and asked them have they brought it up to their team, Come on, John. Stop yawning, John.
Those are some strong rooms, great comments as we had a chance to visit. So we're going to go around real quick. Room one was Lisa, Michael, Mike, and Theron. Who'd like to report out for room one? Everyone's real quiet now. So Lisa, are you still here?
Yeah,
all right.
Still here.
What'd you guys talk about?
We talked a little bit about what was going on. Mike said that he and his boys, they had a conversation about what had happened, and that there was a little bit of surprise, going on. And then Theron also talked, that he's trying to process things, and that he's in charge of the Black student union at Cathedral. So they're going to start having some conversations. He had some individual conversations with coaches, but he's going to meet with them on Friday and talk to them about it. You know, we talked about myself is that my son's really hasn't said a whole lot about it, but my daughter, you know, was more aware. You know, I think at Sarah, they've got more things on their mind as far as the school name change and all the other stuff going on there that I don't know that it's a concern.
Wow. Okay, room two. Thank you, Lisa. Room two, Alfonso, Andrew, Bo, John, and Tracy.
It's been a really good conversation. We kind of went in order and just talked about thoughts and feelings after hearing of the verdict. And some of us expressed a relief, but also mentioned, you know, I'd say even more so because we're 5 white guys in the room. And we're talking about, you know, talking to, you know, to Black friends who were worried and thought, here we go again, and the verdict's gonna come back not guilty, and it's just gonna be another one of these. It's another, and we're relating it to Rodney King, and it's gonna be another one of, you know, another lack of accountability, and it's just gonna be that another burst of anger and outrage and zero accountability for policing the Black community. So, but the relief came from hopefully a step forward in setting a new precedent for police accountability. And then we also did end the discussion with, you know, the fact that once again, none of us have had to have, I don't have any kids, but I believe some of the others in my group do, or none of us have had to have conversations about with our kids or a lot of, many in particular athletes about how to behave, you know, how to act, not behave, that's the wrong word, how to act and how to carry yourself, you know, when you do have interactions with the police in light of all of this, you know, negative, unjust interactions. We've never had to have those conversations. What we didn't, unfortunately, have a chance to talk about, and I'm reflecting on it personally, is, you know, I didn't do a good job in this past day of bringing it up to my team. I have yet to really talk about it with my team or inside of my classroom. I teach physics, and we didn't really find a place to have that discussion yet as well. And that's just me thinking out loud right now, something that I need to do, especially with my team.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Thank you. Room three, Jenks, Kashana, Krista, and Monique. And once again, I'm so happy that I'm recording this and that I was bouncing around because the 2 minutes out, probably 2 of the most powerful minutes I heard. So who'd like to report out on room three?
I'll share. We were, you know, we had some common themes going on with us yesterday. And a lot of it had to do with, you know, physical symptoms and emotional symptoms prior to the verdict. And when we heard what was that there was going to be a verdict, I remember saying that even the days and weeks leading up to the verdict and hearing about certain things about the case, it was very it was very uncomfortable. It was very anxiety provoking. When the verdict came out, one of us expressed that she was at the store. She wanted to hurry up and get home. Another one expressed she was already at home with her children. I expressed that I was at work and had to cut a meeting short because once I got the notification, my mom that immediately went to my children who were at a school where there's only a few of them. They're like 2 out of maybe 7 Black students. And I just didn't want anything to take place at the school. And I didn't want anyone to talk to them about it in a good or bad way. I wanted to be the first person to talk to them about it. So I left work to pick them up because I felt very worried about their safety. And so, you know, it's these things where, yes, we were relieved that there was some accountability there and there was a guilty verdict, but, you know, we still have to live this life. And people around us that are not Black don't understand what it's like to live in a state of complete exhaustion from having to worry about our kids, having to worry about our safety, having to worry about if we drive in a certain area, and having to worry about a police stop, having to worry about, and the people around us that are not us, that are not Black, they just don't know, and it just doesn't affect them, and it's just not a concern to them. You know, we talked about some of the response that we get when we try to mention things, and in particular for myself, you know, I mentioned to some of my coworkers, look, I'm worried about my kids right now. The verdict came out. I need to leave. And the first response was like a reasoning type of thing. Well, the school's not going to announce it. So I'm like, you don't understand what it's like to be a Black mom in this case. Please don't try to realize what you think, you know, could make me feel better, because I know where I was when other verdicts came out and it was announced in schools. And kids have access to technology and things like that. So, you know, it's just the fact that it's really like a silo when there's, you know, you're like the only one in your workplace or one of a couple, and I happen to be one of two. So I know I'm feeling a certain way. I know my kids would feel a certain way. And Black students would feel a certain way if, you know, they're not surrounded by love, genuine empathy and care, and people that know what they're going through.
Yeah. Thanks for that report. Great room, and that conversation, it was powerful in there. Thank you so much. Room 4, Charles, Debbie, Jeff, Sean, and Twantinette.
Well, I explained to our group that we actually talked to my players. And as I told our group, they really wasn't too enthusiastic because, like one kid said, Coach Jeff, you know, what about his uncle? You know, and then I was like, well, what happened with your uncle? I mean, like I told him, I know the story around it, but he said, my uncle was shot by the police here in San Diego. So what is that going to do for him now? Or what is that going to do for me now? I don't think my players was like really one way. One of my students who is going to UCLA, you know, he said, Coach Jeff, he brought up a point like, why does the Black officers never shoot white people like white officers shoot Black people? Like, they train at the same facility, they read the same playbook, right? It's the same organization. Why is it that they feel we got to be shot? One of my players went on Google and would Google other cases. Like, well, Coach Jeff, okay, so what about what Mike Brown? Anything happened with Mike Brown? No, not guilty. Anything, they was finding more not guilty verdicts than guilty verdicts. So for them, I think George Floyd was a relief, but I think they 15, 16, 17-year-olds. And they have a different perspective. They look at it a little differently. Like our kids, I think our kids do, because they minorities, they African-American men. I mean, young men, they males. I don't, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't think, you know what I'm saying? And I'm trying to be positive, like, hey, okay, well, you know, it's a change, it's a start. And one of them said, well, how long are we going to keep saying it's a start? That's one out of what, 15,000, 20,000, Coach Jeff? He said, I'm good at math. That's not a good percentage. So as much as they was happy about it, I mean, or I guess okay with it, you know, so I said, well, you know, young people, like I told the one young student who's going to UCLA, hey, man, you're going to UCLA, change the game, change the narrative. You know what I'm saying? Use this as a bridge. But on the same notion, I couldn't take their emotion or their pain away from what they was talking about, because that's how they felt. It wasn't, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't, one kid was like, well, Coach Jeff, I'm hearing that there's people who going to be mad if mad of the verdict, and they may start rioting and looting now. Then what happens? You know what I'm saying? Like, who's in danger then? And then one of them said, well, Coach Jeff, now the police department is going to be mad worse now, right? That means now they, you know what I'm saying? Is that going to tell them to stop, or that's going to make them mad? You know what I'm saying? Because now he got caught, or You know what I'm saying? What about the police association? Are they mad? You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, these are some real good questions coming from 15, 16, 17-year-old kids at Lincoln boys basketball.
All right. Glad we talked about it. And it sounds like there's a lot more talking that needs to be done. And John, thank you so much for your comments about circling back, right? And checking in, because this is not going away. This is not going to lead to news anytime soon. And we want to keep this up. And so I want to welcome David Dunn, who just arrived. We're going to break up right now into two rooms this time. And I split Sean and Theron up so that we'll split it up. And we'll be in there for 10 minutes and we'll come back and report out. Here we go.
Game, we have a workout at school. The kids come up and run a couple laps, get on the field, stretch while the coaches are up in rooms breaking down film. During that time, one of our kids would come onto campus with a sweatshirt on, so our security, because they have to check in just like at every other campus. Our security obviously didn't see the shirt. During their laps or during the stretch, I'm not really sure which one it was. I guess the kid took the sweatshirt off and had the old Miami Notre Dame shirt, Catholics versus Convicts, that he had from his dad being at Notre Dame during that time period. One of our other kids took a picture of it, posted it, and it got out, which, to me, talking to the kids, I think it was an ignorant and not excusable in any way, shape, or form. We're not trying to make excuses for it or in any way, shape, or form. But obviously, not a great message to send out, especially right after playing Lincoln High. I believe that for years, I've had a great relationship with Dave, the head football coach over at Lincoln, with the Lincoln players. A lot of our kids know their kids. They play 7-on-7 together. They work out together. But it was a terrible, I can't use the terminology I would like to use on the mistake. It wasn't a mistake. It was worse than a mistake. It was frustrating because I personally, as a coach, spend a lot of time talking about this stuff. Like I said, in the last breakout room, I have 2 adopted children of both African-American. So it just, when I first saw it, when it was texted to me that it happened, I was literally in my backyard doing yard work with my wife. And I just went and sat down on our outdoor thing, just in disbelief. You know what I mean? It was crushing. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing that we would represent kids from another school, especially African-American kids from another school, with that type of a shirt. We literally a week before, 2 weeks before, we're talking about putting people into groups, whether it be racially, religiously, where they live. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? And the harm that you can do by just grouping people, and assuming that because they belong in this group, this is what they're like, and that's what that shirt, in my opinion, did. It was disappointing that the kids that did it didn't see. I mean, at any point during it, whether it was the kid that put it on, the kid that took the picture, posted it, whatever, that just didn't see that was wrong. You know what I mean? That it was a wrong thing to do. Since then, yesterday I had a meeting with Lonnie and Dave and Jeff from Lincoln, with Theron, who's in the other room, and then Will, who is our boys basketball coach. We had a lunch, and I thought a good open discussion. with the guys from Lincoln. We wanted to go over immediately and apologize to the football team, because obviously that's, to me, where it was directed towards. And that just, as soon as it got up to levels above us, it was stopped. Hopefully there's that opportunity. The two young men that did it were suspended for the game. And that's just one thing. We can't go into everything for, private or whatever it is, reasons of exactly everything that's happening to them. But it is a big ordeal. It was disappointing to our whole school. Our principal 3 years ago started a racial awareness group on our campus where, the first year that we did it in 2018, we brought all of our, not all of them, a lot of kids from different races together, not only races, but different religions. We have some kids that are openly gay on campus, all these kids, and we brought them into a room with faculty and staff. And there's a program, I'm going to forget the gentleman's name now. He
ever negative there is against Catholics, I'm fired. Hands down. There's no talking about it. I could tell them I didn't know about it. And I guarantee you the Catholic Church would have put so much pressure on San Diego Unified to get me out of here because I work for San Diego Unified, because that's disrespectful of a whole religion. It didn't say Cathedral versus Lincoln. It says, Catholics versus convicts. And the interesting conversation I had with a lady, and she was like, well, I don't, how would I know, how did you know they was referring to Lincoln? I said, well, let me give you an example. I'm going to put Lincoln on one side of the paper, and I'm going to put Cathedral on the other side of the paper. And I'm going to write everything that Cathedral offers, where they located at, the prestiges, and I'm going to put everything that Lincoln offers. You tell me which one you think is a convict. She quickly backpedaled and was like, I'm not going to answer that question. So, I mean, is it wrong? Yes. You know what I'm saying? Did the two young men that did it get punished? One is a star quarterback. I know the inside. His dad was a quarterback at Notre Dame when that shirt came out. So that's a learned trait. You learn that from your dad. You know what I'm saying? So as much as Cathedral was putting pressure on him and suspending them, you still got the father and the mother, because she done said some slick stuff about why is Black Lives Matter getting involved, and it's a t-shirt. And she was overheard saying that by somebody sitting right next to her at the football game. So that's a learned trait. So as much as training, they want to train and say, we can do this. If he is taught at home that shirt is okay, and that the perception of Lincoln kids is convicts. These kids are not convicts. They're not gang members. They're not thugs. The problem is people from north of 805 never, ever comes down to Southeast unless it's a gang. And for those who never been at Lincoln, you know how many times I've seen Cathedral folks or private school folks grab their purses a little tighter when they come walking through my gym door to a game? You know how many times they park right next to each other and they leave as groups? That's because you don't know the community. If you don't know the community, which is crazy because they recruit out of this community. So how do you don't understand, if you got a kid from Southeast and you don't understand his community, why are you recruiting? When you recruit a kid, you got to recruit that kid and the community, because you're sending that kid back to the community. Do you notice the effects that could have happened if one of those kids from Cathedral who live in Southeast threw them L's down? He had to deal with some situation. And one of the kids that go to Cathedral's sister was murdered in 2011 by another rival gang. So it's bigger. It's bigger than what people think it is. It's like, oh my God, it's petty. It was a t-shirt. It was a rival. First of all, Lincoln and Cathedral are not rivals. That's a league game. Lincoln and Morse is a rival. Cathedral and Saints is a rival. I didn't see them throwing the S down when Saints was playing. I didn't see them throwing the M down when Madison was playing. We didn't play Cathedral in basketball probably for the last 15 years. That shirt had never, ever came out. What made it different now? I'll tell you what made it different. Your dad is telling you, well, we did this. Miami had all these convicts and all these guys that had cases pending, and the NCAA was investigating, and we did that, yada, yada, yada. You should wear that. That's your star quarterback. Why would I want to follow somebody who put that on? How did the Black athletes feel at Cathedral about that? You had to play with them. I mean, it's bigger than just you suspend them for a game, you send them out. Like I said, I would like to talk to them personally. Like, what urged you to do that? And then let's try to find a solution. I don't hate them kids. Hate is a cruel word. I don't even hate the people that killed my brothers. So why would I hate some kids for putting a shirt? But there's got to be a lesson. You just can't continue to walk around thinking it's okay, but it's okay to play with the black athletes. And this is my problem I had with coaches that got on Twitter after George Floyd and said, I'm standing with my black athletes. I didn't see one statement when the verdict came out about you're standing with your black athletes. Now the verdict out. So it's bigger, and people be like, oh, Jeff, they're just mad black men. No. Understand the difference. Come down to my community and see what the community is about. Understand it. Take a tour of Southeast. There's great people. There's family-oriented people. Is there some bad things? Yes. There's some negative things in Del Mar, too. There's a mother that was selling drugs up in Cathedral. You know what I'm saying? Like, so let's not say it's just bad all in Southeast and East San Diego. Say it's bad and all over, but give Southeast a chance. Stop thinking perception when you see a kid, because you would have never known that a Kobe Banks and one of our kids is going to UCLA. You would never think that Coach Day-Day's GPA is 3.4 on that football team, and basketball 3.1. You would never know that if you don't never come down and understand and visit. So when the letter came out from the principal, I told my man, Will, I don't accept that letter. That's a ghostwriter letter. I want the principal to look me in my eye, and I want to see his feeling when is he really true to it? Because I know you're dealing with a higher power now. You're dealing with the Catholic Church. You're dealing with a higher power. Now everybody's scrambling around. Why wasn't this done when Khadijah was?
Okay. Well, now we got all that off our chest.
Michael?
Yes.
We didn't get a chance to hear from Coach Dunn in our group. We heard from Coach Doyle.
Okay.
Do you think we could give Coach Dunn a couple minutes to?
Absolutely. David?
Okay.
Would you like to say a few words, David?
I'm trying to get to the right. All right, I'm on the phone. Hello?
Okay, we can see and hear you. Welcome, David.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Sorry for being a little tardy here. Yeah, I was listening in, and like I said, we did meet and have a pretty good conversation yesterday about all the things that was taking place, and some of the things I shared with Coach Doyle is, just as hard as we work to lift our kids up and give them a great sense of pride of who they are, and where they want to be and how they can live their future and become whatever they want. I was explaining how tired I am myself of just constantly being labeled. And that's just one of the things that as people's views of who we are, of constantly being labeled, it's disheartening. I mean, it's disheartening, and we're trying to build the confidence of these young men, and get them to a level to where we're just above that. We're to play ball, have fun. I understand the jabs will be thrown sometimes in different games and stuff like that, but in no way, shape, or form should we have to go into situations being labeled, or whether it's thugs, gang members, or anything of that nature. It's disheartening. What I'm saying, as a coach, and to see kids, we can take physical battles all day, that as we prepare for them, but the mental effects of those things, it makes the person feel less than a person, and that's not okay. You know what I mean? It's just like, I'm gonna share with Coach Doyle. I said it makes you just feel a certain way that you get that label or that stigma put on you for no reason, and it's also common. We know where we're from, and we know the area we grew up in, and different things like that. But that doesn't mean that we are to be labeled any different from anybody else. You know what I'm saying? Besides aspiring student athletes, which is what we are. And that's the narrative that I want to keep it at. Because just year after year, you know, there's always something that comes up, and you know, we have to face so many different obstacles. And we're just talking with some parents today of, you notice how many extra security and police, and everywhere we go, every time we go somewhere, we're automatically viewed as a problem, and we're not the problem. We didn't do anything to anybody. We didn't cause anything. We didn't say anything. We didn't do anything. But we're always been viewed as the problem, and it just at some point in time, it gets, you know, you just get sick and tired of it. You know, and so just looking around and just looking around, I was explaining to Sean, I was looking around at different games and different things throughout the seasons that I've been coaching here. You know, I look up and, you know, it's not just campus security or private security, and there's police officers everywhere, and you know, hovering around our sideline and staring at our kids and intimidating. And we're trying to play a game like everybody else. Why should we have to deal with that all the time? You know, and last year, kids looking over police standing behind the bleachers. I mean, like, are we in the movie The Longest Yard or something like that? I mean, I don't understand why does it always have to be that way, that we are constantly viewed as a threat and as a problem. That is not who we are. You know, I have good kids that come from some good homes, some broken homes, some good situations, some very bad situations. But they're loving each other. They're learning to work together. They're having fun. They're believing, and they're aspiring to do great. And I'm not going to let anyone label my boys. I'm not going to have boys or girls. I'm not going to have it. And so with this whole thing here, this is just it's an ongoing situation that needs to be addressed. It's not okay in any form or shape. I do understand that kids, you know, especially with today's social media, and I explained to Sean, and we can't control everything that kids do. You know, but you know, also we got to be mindful of how people feel as well. You know, other people's feelings and stuff has to be brought into play here. We can't just think about ourselves and just say excuse it, and then it's you know, it just goes by and then it's something else. You know, we dealt with some issues before the game, you know, based on a picture that was put out, and you know, I'm being called by, you know, administration and everyone else to try to keep things calm and things like. I'm like, we didn't do anything. Why am I taking away from my coaching time and my time to have to put out fires that I didn't start?
Okay, you froze on us, David. So I hope he comes back. I'm glad you got a chance to speak. There you are. Okay.
Other nonsense.
Yeah. And David, you've lived in the community for how long now?
I've been born and raised in the community. I was I grew up 3 blocks away from Lincoln High School, and then I moved probably 5 minutes away from there. So I grew up here my whole life, and you know, my family's been through here. I grew up around here, have strong ties to Lincoln High School, Morris High School, you know, just through the whole community. And that was the first thing when I'm coming home from the NFL and stuff, came back to my community to, as you're supposed to do, to make it better. You know, share the experiences and give the young kids hope and you know, aspire to do great things within the community. And that's what I did. I came back to my community and I stayed true to it, and I'm here to uplift and build. You know, but I was sharing a story I said, with Sean. I said, you know, I remember at 9 years old being told that I would be called certain things and I would be treated a certain way when I was playing Pop Warner in different areas. You know, at 9 years old, we're being told you may be called out of your name, you may be called out of your race, you may be stepped on, you may be you may be you know, you may be pushed to the limit and you couldn't retaliate. But I'm like, how do you process that as a 9-year-old? And here I am 40 years later, telling my grandson the exact same thing and my 12 or 13-year-old son the exact same thing. It's exhausting. It's exhausting and there's no place for it.
Thank you, David. So we heard from both coaches, those that were in that first room, and there's a lot to really process because it is exhausting. We've heard that so often tonight, and it makes people sick. And I believe everybody's tired of going through that. And so, Jeff, I just want to once again thank you for what you've done to launch this conversation, and for all that are here tonight. I want to share the screen with you before we have closing comments from Jeff real quickly. But the last week, it was April 15th. And if, for those of you that know what April 15th is, that's Jackie Robinson Day. That's the only day that Major League Baseball allows the number 42 to be played. And for the 22 years I was at the Jackie Robinson YMCA, and I learned a lot about him being there. But what I did is there's a biography that was written about him. And what I would do is I use this paragraph that's outlined in red for our volunteers just to try and help them, because in that paragraph, he says, I want to help where it's needed more. He said for all his success, he felt unfulfilled. Success stirred in him sharp feelings of guilt about the poor and the sick. His work with the children at the Y, where he was now on the board, was fine, but he wanted to do more. He said, this is too supervised. I want to see the kids that can't even come to the Y. I want to try and help where it's needed more. He liked visiting the sick. Race seemed not to matter as he reached out, or perhaps it mattered that he reached out to whites as well as blacks to set an example of interracial charity. And that's what's happened here with this Coaches for Racial Equality. And Jeff, I salute you for that. But what I've noticed recently is the paragraph above this. And let me read this for you as well. If you recall, Jackie Robinson died at the age of 53. He wasn't an old man. And here it says, by September, he revealed his bat weighed heavily in his hands and his legs were often numb. But the worst pressure was psychological. Quote, the strain of the last 3 or 4 years has done something to me. Not that I have anything to worry about, but I'm jumpy and nervous all the time. And this is coming from the first Black man that played Major League Baseball. And imagine what he went through during his career. And David, which you described tonight, and so many of you in the chat, in the breakout rooms tonight, explain, you're getting tired. It's exhausting. And this is Jackie Robinson died in 72. And he started playing in 1947, so it hasn't changed. And I think that's what we've got an opportunity to do is right now, just keep the momentum going, and keep coming. And so for those of you that are here for the first time, I pray that you come back. It's open to everybody, coaches, administrators, student athletes, parents, media. Charles, we appreciate you being here tonight. It's open to everybody because our goal is to really make an impact and make sure that we keep it between the lines. And as we move forward on this, let's see right here, Kashana, please post again. I'd like to take a screenshot. I'll do that for you right now. Let's keep this going because as we do, I believe we're going to make a difference. So Jeff, as I put this back on real quickly, so for those that do want to take a screenshot of this, you can close it out. Jeff. Yes.
Can I interrupt really quick? I'm worried about Monique. She had asked, talking about the dialogue, her anxiety. I want to make sure she's okay.
Sure.
I'm good. There's a lot to say. There's a lot to say about this. As a Black mom of Black children, this just continues the narrative of our young Black men and women being scary people. It perpetuates the thoughts in people's heads that they're going to hurt you so you can do whatever you want to them. This perpetuates the idea that because you're Black, you're worthless. And that's not okay. If the script was flipped and it was Black kids who did this to white kids, we wouldn't have this conversation, and there would be more done, and it would be plastered everywhere. Names wouldn't be saved, faces wouldn't be saved, ages wouldn't be saved. We want equity. This isn't equitable. I mean, I understand as a schools are going to do whatever it is they feel that they should do. But outside of the athletes, you know, whether the athletes at Lincoln, the Black athletes at the other school, what does that say to them that are sitting in those classrooms with these kids? A lot of them aren't going to tell you that they don't feel safe. Because as a mom, my kid wouldn't, this is old. And I'm tired of we're doing the best we can. We're doing this, and kids know exactly what they're doing because they're taught it and they see it every day. Our young Black men and women have to stand accountable all the time. They're smeared, their reputation's smeared all the time. Athletes are smeared all the time. It's kind of like they get used for their athleticism, but then they don't get protected for their humanity. And that's not okay. Enough is enough. And people in higher places, more than likely, I don't know, but I can say more likely than not, Caucasian folks in higher places, they get to go home. They get to leave it at school. They get to leave it wherever. We don't leave it anywhere. Our kids don't leave it anywhere. They can't. And it ain't okay. It's not. It is not. And I have so much more that I just would like to say, but we're out of time. It's just not okay. Jeff, I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate what you're doing. Coach Dunn, I'm sorry that you're having to go through this. I'm sorry that the fellas and the kids at Lincoln have the reputation that they have, which is not okay. See, if I was a parent at one of these schools, it would be more like, I'm sorry to say, my kid would have been pulled out of school. There's not going to be enough apologizing you could do. Because you're going to use my child for his athleticism or her athleticism, but you're not going to protect her. Because what you did is damaging. And that's psychological, emotional trauma ridden that stays with them forever. A simple, I'm sorry, we're doing something. Racial reconciliation courses, restorative justice, that ain't going to fix what you did because it's already been done. And it gets done to them every day. That's all I have to say for now.
Thank you, Monique. Jeff?
Yeah, I definitely think, Monique, I appreciate everybody coming on. I think Coach Dunn summed it up for us as we're tired. You know, you talk about the difference in kids. It's a difference in coaches. You know, we know coaches are, you know, we know if it, again, I said it before, if it was me or Coach Dunn, they're going to hold us accountable for knowing what our kids did. They'll hold us accountable for, we have to know what our kids do because our kids are in a tough situation. But I think the dialogue and letting people understand where we come from and understand our kids, because they are good kids, man. They are. I love these kids. Me, Coach Dunn, coaches at Lincoln, staff at Lincoln. Just like I think every, I think staff at Cathedral love their kids. I just think that the perception of us has to change. And I hope that, you know, this dialogue among ourselves and coaches and players. I mean, I got to go to La Jolla tomorrow. We already had a pre-game talk with our players about what we got to do. We go in there to play basketball, and that's what it is. It's basketball. Because any slight anything after that, I'm going to be held accountable. And I just feel that we all should be held accountable. I wanted, like I said, I would like, you know, for the dialogue to continue. I would like for, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, I go back to day one when Mike Hop came on. I respect Mike more and more, you know what I'm saying? And Coach John from Patrick Henry, how they brought more staff on, and they could bring it, they continue to bring people on these conversations that have these conversations. That shows you that, hey, man, maybe, you know what I'm saying, it is, we are reaching some people. I know we ain't gonna reach all people. You know, I was told by a coach up in North County, I don't coach Black players, so I don't have that problem. You know, it's not Black versus white, it's Black versus racism, you know, and I think we can continue to have these dialogues. And I definitely appreciate taking your time, because y'all could be doing anything else. And so this was important to me, it's important to the coaches here. And I thank you all for coming. Thanks, appreciate you.
Before we go, Kashana had her hand up, but before we go to Kashana, did you have something you wanted to say, Kashana? Okay, hold on for 1 second. So let's talk about this time. Is 6 o'clock still going to be the best time, or should we back it up later? Jeff?
Back it up. Back it up.
To what time?
6:30 or 7 o'clock. Whatever. I mean, whatever. I know we are minister basketball season, and now I know our league is played on Tuesday, Friday. I don't know what Mike's league, because they're in the Western and North, you know what I'm saying? So I don't.
So
Wednesday's fine. And
Wednesday's
later's better.
What, Wednesday's fine?
Yes.
Okay, so 6:30 or 7. That's what's up right here. Who's for 6:30? Raise your hand. Who's for 7? Who would like 7? Okay, we'll back it up to 7 o'clock, and I'll change the schedule up. Kashana, you're on.
As a mom and an educator, I just wanted to say this, because I have 2 sons, and I've seen, you know, my older son already go through the process, and, you know, having to be always mentally strong throughout the game, no matter what he was called, what happened during the game, what, you know, inequity and unfairness took place. And now I'm seeing my younger son going through, and we've already had to have protective measures for him, take him out of school, and put him in a safer place, because his Blackness is seen as a threat. He's looking forward to playing on that football stage, and I'm not, for these reasons. He's looking forward to play against teams like, you know, Cathedral, and I'm not, for these reasons. He voiced that to me. I want to play them. And I just said, oh my God, no, I don't want you to. I don't want you to, because I know what it was like for all the kids that I've seen. I know what I've seen, and I just don't want that for my kid. And I don't want that for anybody else's child either, because she's right. It scars them for life. It scars them for life. There's no circles, there's no restorative anything that can remove and delete those things out of their minds, how they're labeled and treated. It's with them for life. And it's almost like once you do it, you can't undo it. So everything else that happens after that is really, you know, it's really not much, although the effort is appreciated. But you got to know that when kids are doing this type of stuff, it stays with them for life. That's it.
Right on. Thank you. And thank you all for coming tonight. The next meeting, once again, will be on the 5th of May. It'll be at 7 o'clock. And I want to thank all the newcomers that are here for the first time, and also for everybody being full participants, really talking what's on your heart, and stay committed. I mean, if we don't keep on this, it's never going to change. And so I appreciate all of you. Stick with it. Let's stay together. And if you need to get in touch with us at any time in these 2 weeks, don't hesitate to email. You've all got the email, so let's keep this going, okay? All right, good night to everybody.